And President Trump trying to get his mojo back, some say, after a rocky start in his first month on the job. A former campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, says he was once again bypassing the mainstream media.
This is where the president is at his very best. As you know, the president is an exceptionally high energy person. He loves to be engaged with the crowds. He loves to have the opportunity to hear directly from the people who helped elect him. And so what I think you'll see today is him reminding people by bypassing the mainstream media, going directly to the people, that the campaign promises that he made are what he's following through on. And that's the most important thing.
Well, let's bring in our political panel today. Pm Matheson is the former chief of staff for Senator Mike Lee, also the president of the Sutherland Institute, and Fatima O'Mara, a Democratic strategist and former president of Young Democrats of America. Welcome to you both. It's a big day in America, and of course, all eyes are on Florida. So, Boyd, I want to start with you. Is this where he's at his best, when he's avoiding the mainstream media, but maybe he's also not addressing some of the White House issues, the issues that are so hot right now that people want to talk about, that critics are calling chaotic?
Yeah, this is definitely where he is in his comfort zone. And this is, interestingly, it's also where President Obama was always at his most comfortable moments. Both of them were very much more interested and more comfortable in front of a political rally than in a policy discussion. I think the challenge for the Trump administration is it's time to pivot. They've come to the crossroads of political rhetoric and the realities of governing, and they need to get to an agenda. And so while he can bypass the media, he can bolster up his base, which is important. He has a very small and very diverse group and not really unified Republican Party, so it's good for him to do that. But it's time to really pivot and press forward with an agenda that is focused on upward mobility for the poor, real opportunity for the middle class, and then, as he promised during the campaign, to make sure that he ends the cronyist privilege for the wealthy and the well-connected.
Fatima, some are calling today's rally this way to get around the filter of the media, similar to Twitter, to just get out there again and change up the conversation. What do you make of the timing? Do you think he's going to be able to make this pivot this way?
Yeah, that's always his intent. He loves to go out, do these speeches, these rallies. They give him a lot of energy. And obviously his intent to, pivot and sort of distract from some of the stuff that's going on right now and has happened in this past couple of weeks. I will say the key thing now for him to remember is that he's now the president of the United States. So, when he's been sarcastic on the campaign trail, he's got to be careful not to say anything like when he was saying lock her up or whatever at his previous rallies. Now he's the president of the United States. Some country can get a little scared about something he might say because now it's being addressed like it's from the U.S. government. So that will be something he has to probably tailor himself and constrain himself a little bit, which might be challenging for him, but something to be watched.
Right.
Sure.
And Boyd, the president is getting a little flack for holding this rally today when there is so much to be done. As Fatima mentioned, there's a lot going on, so many things that do need to be addressed. With that said, we also want to take a look at President Obama's first post-inaugural rally. That was just weeks sooner, on February 9th in 2009. So a lot of people making, a lot about the timing here. Is this a good time for Mr. Trump to get out there in this way?
Yeah, I think it's fine for him to get out there. Obviously, there's lots to do, and it needs to be a quick rally. He needs to get back home. My dad always says you need to pull the blinds down and get focused, and that's what the Trump administration needs to do. They need to reject what a lot of the Democrats are doing right now, and that is being outraged about everything. And they have to recognize that anger is not an agenda for the American people, that frustration isn't a platform. He needs to get his team together, and they need to get focused. Most administrations fail not because they don't have the right talent, but because they lack focus. And when you're not focused, you make mistakes, you have a lot of unforced errors and self-inflicted wounds. And so they need to get focused around an agenda, because that's ultimately what's going to allow them to deliver for the American people. There's still a lot of dis-ease out there in the country, and the unforced errors are undermining the confidence not only of his base, but of the American people in general. So he needs to go out with a sense of populism, a conservative approach, the forgotten man, and really start addressing some of those issues that are impacting the pocketbooks and the kitchen tables around the country.
Right. And, Fatima, many argue this is the perfect time to reset this narrative and gives the president a chance to sort of, rerun all of his favorite themes of the campaign, to bring people back around to the campfire, so to speak. So you think that sort of feeling is going to last here?
Well, I think it'll last for as long as it's going to last. I mean, the one thing that I would, say, Boyd saying certainly that, Democrats, and certainly his opinion, or Republicans' opinion, the tactic is sort of being angry. I think that the focus for Trump is definitely not fixating on the media. He had a perfect opportunity in his press conference that he had this week to announce his new Labor nominee, who pulled out, that he just went on and talked about, the press and how he was cranky with them. So for him, he has to really, really focus. He has to announce his Labor nominee appropriately. Has to get his NSA. Has to get a full press team in place. And the blocks will get into place and things will move more smoothly. But right now, it's rough waters.
Okay, Tina Boyd, I got to leave it there, and we know it's going to be an interesting day. Thanks so much for being with us.
Of course, thank you.
Kelly.